Hey, welcome to Guitar Knobs, the guitars, gear, noise, and nonsense podcast, hosted today by these knobs.
Jared Brandon wound pickups.
Zach Oswald, Brandon wound pickups.
Hey, it's me, Todd Novak. We are minus our very good friend, Tony Dudzik, tonight.
Where is he?
We're very sad that he's not here, but he had a very important engagement that he had to attend, or he would have been in the doghouse for a really long time. Let's just say that. Jared, what do we do on the show?
We focus mainly on smaller builders, and we do 101s that are packed full of information that's
educational
helpful.
Series.
Oh, yeah, we love those. And we talked about pretty much anybody that has a lot to do with guitars and ephemera.
Yes, and ephemera and pedals and amps and all that stuff. And we have somebody just like that on the line. Go ahead. Who's on the line?
Mike Adams is on the line.
AKA?
AKA the sound of a cartoon sword being unsheathed.
Puisheen.
Yeah, that's a dumb name that I had to come up with in college when we went over to a friend's house to play PlayStation. And I needed a login, and that was the only thing I could think of. And it has stuck, and now I think it's too late to change it.
Yeah, it's way too. You're never escaping that moniker. In fact, when just a brief recap, we'll get into all kinds of good stuff a little bit later, but I met up with him on accident while we were waiting for our good friend of the pod, Jeff Schroeder from Smashing Pumpkins. He was getting ready to do a demo at NAMM, and I'm standing next to this guy. I'm like, holy crap, that's Puisheen. But I was like, I don't know his real name. So
Nobody does.
Excuse me, Puisheen. and we got to talking, and we had a really great conversation. So
a really good conversation,
yeah.
markedly. I mean,
Yeah.
I had a lot of conversations at NAMM. Yours was, top 5.
Wow, thank you. That's quite a compliment. I appreciate that.
I'm not just yanking your chain.
I thought we agreed to say top 3, but that's okay.
That wasn't in the script.
So yeah, we got to talking. Now it did throw me off a little bit because you didn't have your trademark beard that you had for so long. It was shorter. It was shorter.
So sick of upkeep.
Yes.
I don't have time to brush anymore. No, I'm not about that life. I've moved on.
Mike is famous for 3 things, maybe 4 things. At least.
Can't wait to hear what these things are.
Mike is famous for Mike and Mike's Guitar Bar out on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
He is internet famous for his red-orange beard. He's famous for his guitar named Pancake.
Yeah.
And also famous for basically calling a colossal amount of attention to offset guitars. I don't think that can be stated big enough, to be honest.
Oh, thank you.
Because you came on, and then all of a sudden, like after a while, I was like, dude, what's with all these offset guitars? And they're all pointing at this guy. Yeah, so it was really neat. Thanks for driving up the prices.
Yeah, you're very welcome for that. That was my intention all along.
Anyways, we'll get into your full story in just a little bit. We're going to cover off on a few things. We got some announcements, everybody, peoples. So I just wanted to share something. A fellow with the moniker Skinny Mustache named Nick Janner shot me an email, and he said, I just found about you guys and I am absolutely hooked. I actually look forward to driving around just so I can listen to y'all. That was very nice. He likes the 4 on the floor. But the most important thing about this email, aside from it's great to get kudos. Did I say kudos? Ugh. It's great to have people say nice things.
Is kudos out of style now?
It's just kind of gross. I don't know why, but whatever.
I think of a granola bar.
Well, yeah, I know. Anyways, yeah, he threw granola bars at us. Let's just say that.
Sweet.
He brought something up that I was like, oh, this is really intriguing. He said, maybe you've already done an episode with this theme, but I was thinking of an episode highlighting the rigs of the guitar gods and how simplistic they were back then. And how far we've come, a la Hendrix, Clapton, Page, Beck, Jeff Beck, I'm assuming he's referencing, Stevie Ray Vaughan, King, Collins, etc. Almost kind of a devil's advocate discussing the modest setups of these guys and where guitar playing is these days and how many variables there are. Like gear, tons and tons of pedals, tons and tons of, everything. I think that's a really good idea.
That is kind of neat.
If he meant the younger Beck, he would have had 2 turntables and a microphone.
Oh,
Jared got one in on me.
where it's at.
Yes. So anyways, that was really cool. So thank you to Nick Jenner for sending that. I also want to call out, we have a new patron named Doug Kurgely, and he shared his 4 on the floor with us.
Welcome, Doug.
Yes, welcome. So I'm going to read that real quick. Doug's 4 on the floor are Matthews Effects Cartographer.
Nice.
Yes, very nice pedal. We got to say hello to Mr. Matthews over at the NAMM show, which was really cool. And the MXR Carbon Copy, a favorite of 4 on the floor. We also have the Retro Sonic Chorus, which I've never heard of.
I haven't heard of
You
that
guys
either.
heard of that?
No.
Who makes it? Is that the brand? Retrosonic?
Retro Sonic makes it. Yeah.
Is
Interesting.
that the one that's in GarageBand?
I don't know. I'm not
No, that's
familiar
the
with it.
Heavenly Chorus. That's what I'm thinking.
Yes.
Well, we've got
you
some
are correct.
homework then.
And the Keeley Compressor Plus.
Classic.
Thank you, Mr. Keeley, for the Compressor Plus. So anyways, that's really cool. So we're going to get to him at the end, but he's a new patron, and we're really glad to have him, and thank you for your support, Doug. All right. That's what I got for announcements. So, guys, we had a righteous week at NAMM, but first, let's talk about what we've been doing since we got back from NAMM.
Let's do it.
All right. Let's start with Zach.
Well, unfortunately, I didn't get to go to NAMM, but I got a new project that might be coming up here pretty soon, and I'm really looking forward to it. It's not totally official yet, but it's a little like body and neck sort of gotta put it together project, and it's another old Gibson. You know, guys know I'm a big fan of those. It's a 1957 Gibson ES 175.
Ooh, nice.
And you know the PAFs and all that stuff are gone. It was refinished at one point, but could be a really cool like player grade guitar once I'm done with it.
Right on.
I've seen the finish too, and it's really old. It's definitely lacquer. It's not poly, which is a good thing.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it was an old Gibson refinish just by the way that it looks, but I'll be able to know more once I get it.
Excellent. And for those who are just getting onto our show and haven't heard Zach on, he's been on a couple times.
Yeah, been on a few
he'll
times.
probably make it on a few more times in the future. But he's got a nice little Facebook and YouTube channel. He does a lot of videos about old guitars and stuff. You'll know them because they have the most vivid green. He has painted his whole room like
That's what he's
the
known
Green
for,
Man
man.
color.
Yeah.
Wow.
Got
So
the
that's
green
the thing.
background.
That would make me insane.
That's his shtick.
Yeah, I had it for a long time, and I've even had people say, well, don't ever change your wall color. I'm like,
Right.
all right, well,
Yeah.
kind of stuck with it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your eyes are going to be screwy by the time you're 16. Anyway, no, he's older than that. I'm just kidding. All right. Let's hear from Mike.
I did this thing this year at NAMM where I, what's it called? Where you get someone's business card and then you actually follow up with them. That's a new thing for me.
Oh, yeah.
So I've been sending emails. I've been sending little notes and saying, "Hey, great to meet you," which I certainly mean. The way I'm saying it now sounds sarcastic and like I'm an ass.
What a
Which is
disingenuine
also
person.
true. What a jerk! No, but I've been really trying to follow up with people and also offer my real thoughts on the stuff that I saw. I saw so many great things at NAMM this year that I wanted to make sure that I didn't let that go without saying. That I was telling people like Jennings. I just met Chad for the first time, played his guitar, and had to come home and email him and say like, "Hey, that was really great. I'm really happy with what I played. You should know that you did great."
Yeah. And what a mustache
so-
on that man.
Oh my God, his facial hair game is through the roof. Yeah, and what else? Oh, do you want to know? Do you want to know something I just did?
Yes.
While I was waiting for you to text me about getting on the podcast, I don't know if you have a theme song, but I wrote something.
Oh,
for
my.
you. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Do you want to hear it real
I'm
quick? Is this
excited.
cool? This is out of left field. I'm a big Randy Newman fan, so I
Oh, yeah, man. Randy Newman brings me to my knees.
This is
Tears in
gonna
my
be good.
eyes with Randy.
Key of V. Well, I don't know too much about how the guitar came to be. If I think about what I can say, I know it means a lot to me. It gives me strength when I feel small, gets me through thick and thin. So we'll talk about the love of craft on the Guitar Knobs podcast again.
That was awesome.
1 minute. 1 minute. I did that in 1 minute.
That was
fantastic.
amazing. and a heck of a Randy Newman too.
Yeah, that's very
It's okay.
Newman-y.
It's not my best. I've had a bit of a cold since NAMM, so it's not my best. Like it's a Family Guy version of Randy Newman, kind of, but so it's not exact.
Cool
but
Whip.
It's, Cool Whip.
You had it
This
down,
guy
man.
over here.
Oh, that's great, man. That's fantastic. Thank you. That's
Awesome.
really fun.
That's one of the coolest things that happened so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of neat.
I
Hooray!
feel honored.
Podcast
Goodness
history.
All right. Well, I guess that's it. Let's wrap it up and go home.
All right.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. I really, really appreciate you sharing that with us. Okay. Well, now how are you going to follow that up, Jared?
I'm not, but I'm just going to tell you anyway. So, been working on 2 different Jazzmaster guitars, and
Yeah. Tell me about that.
That's fitting.
custom made, not original ones, but both of them do have the block and lay necks, kind of a 1966 vibe going on. One of them is a
Lake Placid.
Lake Placid blue, thanks.
Whoa.
And
Don't want to make that mistake.
Right.
Flipping the Gibson and Fenders.
yeah, no,
People will be outraged.
that's correct. And then the other one I went really custom me. I did a purple sparkle. Just because I like purple. And I tell you what, it was G.E. Smith that was on Saturday Night Live about 30 years ago. And he had one. A purple sparkle Jazzmaster. It could have been a Jaguar. I don't know. But it was that offset. But anyway, those 2 I finally got around to ordering the hardware. And actually, I stayed away from the mastery. I just didn't want to put the money into these things, man. I mean, it would have been like $800, $900 just for the bridges and trims, man. From mastery is expensive. It's worth it, right? Great stuff. But I just went with the American vintage Fender stuff.
Oh, yeah. The vibrato is great.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Right on, man.
$70. Good
and,
piece.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I got the also got the Fender USA bridges. The went with Jaguar bridges. I think they work a little better. That's what Tony told me to do. Anyway, Tony.
Right on. We got that's sitting right over there. Or no, just kidding. That's
Tony Baloney. Yeah. So yeah, that's what that was pretty exciting for me because it was it's long-winded. But anyway, Todd, what have you done since NAMM? Since you got back, man?
Oh, thanks for that. So I just came home and just straight away I plugged in because I hadn't played for like 6 days. I felt like we have a little show coming up and I just wanted to get loose again. And fortunately, I had just got my Jazz Smasher. I got to figure out a name for that. Hey, anybody want to name that guitar?
Jaws Boston.
Yeah, it's called Vinny.
Master.
It's actually called Vinny. But
Oh,
yeah.
that's my dog's name.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah.
Oh, is he black and gold too?
No. He's white and brindle,
Yeah.
little beagle pit bull mix.
Ah, well, mine's called Vinny, but I just can't decide how to address it. It's a it's like a jazz caster, but I don't want to say jazz caster for some reason. My brain won't let me. But anyways, nonetheless, I had a delightfully large wide range pickup in the neck position because that's just what I decided I wanted to do. Even though Jared was like, "Man, don't do that." And I was like, no, I want your wide range because his wide range pickups are really, really amazing. They're vintage wound.
I support that.
Yeah, they're outstanding.
Big and loud.
But it just sounded like a big thing.
Well, it's very, if you have a Telecaster bridge, just a regular single coil, and then you have that wide range, it's kind of a weird design. If it
was just too big.
It's
and
not for
muffled
everybody.
and-
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
Kind of unbalanced.
a lot of a low end when you flip that neck on.
Yeah.
So I don't blame you. So anyway, what'd you do instead?
Well, what I did was we put a little mini humbucker in there, which is really cool from this company Screen Top.
Right.
And I dig it. It sounds amazing. It looks really cool, and it's a really good complement to the bridge.
Yep.
I dig it.
Yeah, the look
Sounds
is
a lot
really
better.
neat with the screen top.
It very much so. So, anyways, it's not a foil.
There's a little gold piece of paper reflective, and then it's got this real super fine screen that's over that.
It looks nice.
And it gives it a
Kind of
really
antiqued a little bit.
like really cool hue.
There's
kind of a
I got a couple
shimmer.
photos on Instagram
Yeah.
that everybody can check out if they want
I'm
to see
going to
that.
look that up.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's what I've been up to. Now,
Nice.
continuing this a little bit, we decided not to do a full-on NAMM retro show because, I have lots of reasons why, but we do want to touch on a few things about it, but we didn't want to do like the whole show about NAMM.
Right.
With Mike having been there and Jared having been there,
Mhm.
Zach, you get to play the guy who wasn't there, which a
Wasn't
lot
there.
of people weren't. And I think it's worth dispelling a myth. Mike and I were talking about this earlier, that it's not like some ultra VIP like velvet rope thing where you walk in and they shove a cigar and give you a bowl of caviar or something
Right.
like that.
Oh yeah, not at all.
And it's not an over insiders club. It's a show, and there are builders there, and there's some celebrity value to some of these builders.
You got to take your walking shoes with you.
Yeah.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
Yes.
It's 4 days of
We
nonstop.
probably walked 20 miles.
Yeah,
in 4
at
days.
least. I've certainly felt it when I got back.
Yeah.
I'm a big fella.
Yes. So I just thought we'd just kind of give our own little perspectives on that. Couple highlights. Jared, do you have like maybe a highlight or two you want to share?
Number one, being with you and Tony Baloney out there was just fabulous. I just hanging out with my two buddies. Great time. That was probably the most fun I had, out of everything that we did.
Yeah.
Just being with you guys. And when I go to NAMM, since I'm a small business and I do pickups, I do a lot of sourcing, and that's where I go to a bunch of different parts, companies, and I wheel and deal and negotiate and just, try to find more or better sourcing than what I have now as far as parts, and just trying to make my own product better. And that's not really, that's kind of why NAMM is there. But another
That's
thing
originally what it was kind of for. too.
yeah,
I mean,
and I definitely took advantage of that. But as far as what I really liked that I saw was a couple of things. The Gibson booth, I know it's a big popular thing, but because Gibson changed ownership, I really liked the direction that they went this year. It's not perfect, but it's way better than it has been. And I was very happy to see what they had going on. It was very interactive. They had different stations. They had a guy working on a guitar, like fretboard. They had a winder guy there, kind of giving a little winding education. That was fun to act like I didn't know what he was talking about. And yeah. And then a couple more stations, and you would get your card punched and had a chance to maybe win a free guitar if you went to the stations. But it was just great. It was great to see that. And also Fender had the Jimmy Page signature Telecasters. Those were really cool too. I mean, I'll never buy one of those or pay for one of those, but it was just really cool to see in person.
Yeah.
So I think those were two of the big highlights, because I love Led Zeppelin all my life and I love Gibson all my life. So naturally I enjoyed those. But just a trip overall with my friends and seeing other friends there, and especially having Guitar Knob fans introduce themselves, that was a real treat too. So it was great to see our listeners out there at the NAMM show. And that's pretty much my take.
excellent. That was a nice little wrap up.
Yeah.
What, anything in particular like just surprised the heck out of you?
That surprised me. not really surprised, but I will mention that I met the fellow who invented the Mellotron. His name is
nice.
Yeah, his name escapes my head right now, but he's the older fella. But it was great meeting him and having my picture with him because he's a little older, so you don't know how long he's going to be around. He said Led Zeppelin used to rent those Mellotrons from people that owned them when they went on tour.
I'm sure he's got some crazy stories.
Wow. Yeah, I know. But that kind of took me by surprise. I didn't expect to see him there, so that was a pretty good highlight.
Rad, man.
Oh yeah,
dig it. Mike, how about you?
Yeah, so the best thing in my book about NAMM is getting to see people, getting to meet friends or new friends and people you haven't seen in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I look forward to hanging out with Nick Greer every year.
He's a good man.
Ben and Louise from Dwarfcraft are big in my book. They're great pedal makers, but they're people I genuinely enjoy talking to.
Mm-hmm.
Same goes to Blake and Justin from Tone Mob. Seeing Leon from Pelican Noise Works is always a treat. The Pelotar is a pedal that I just kind of call upon in the studio all the time. But other than that, other than seeing, a bunch of great people and I've met some really nice, kind folk who were good enough to tell me that I'd helped them in the past, answering guitar questions and things like that. That's really special every year. But I really just go to NAMM to see people and then to see what kind of strikes me, what's new and what's fun and what it doesn't seem overly cynical. I think the guitar industry can very easily kind of like an Ouroboros just kind of like eat its own tail. And you're constantly chasing the same guitar players, the same sounds, the same classic rock stuff. And so I like to see innovation. I like to see some new things, new takes on old designs. I like to see new horrendously weird pedals that may border on unusable, but it's good to have options. That kind of stuff. And I also, the first thing I do when I get on Thursday is I go to see Fender and Gibson when they're there, just to, usually because they have stuff I like, but also to get them out of the way because I want to leave as much time as I possibly can for small builders. But this year, I will echo prior sentiment. Gibson honestly blew my mind. I was not expecting the showing that they brought this year. Having repaired so many of them, having had to replace robot tuners over the years, I didn't know what I expected, and especially since they weren't here last year. I just thought I'd go in, have a look around, see if I knew anybody, and move on. But I think I spent like a good 30% of my NAMM experience at the Gibson booth, marveling, playing. Wow. I was so impressed, honestly. That leadership change, I wasn't sure how much of an effect it would have, but every employee at that booth that I spoke with likened the change to having their hands untied, that they were finally able to make guitars that they really love, that they can focus more. They're not having needless innovation crammed down their throats all the time. It honestly, it felt like a return to form. And having grown up on Gibsons, I know I'm associated with the Jazzmaster, but I played Gibsons from the time I started, which was like 1992, all the way up until 2010. I was Gibson only, and fell out of love with them because of quality issues and because of, just all that old stuff, all the old complaints I don't need to bring up. But this year, 2019.
I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah, that new custom shop stuff just looks incredible. Really like what they're doing with that.
Even I had Brandon from the Montana plant was kind enough to show me around the acoustic guitars, which I don't normally pay attention to. Like acoustics are fine, but I don't have as much fun on them for whatever reason. But he showed me the G45, which is their base model acoustic, still made in America, but it is like $999, super cheap for an American-made Gibson. And I picked it up expecting decent to soft, okay sounding guitar, but it sounded great.
Is that new sustainable woods thing? Or?
No, those are a different series, but those are also really good. They're more expensive. They're like $24.
Oh, okay.
But the Hummingbird, oh my gosh, what a guitar. I've never heard a sustainable instrument that felt like it was as nice quality. Not because of the wood, but it always seems like they spend less time on them, or
right.
I don't know what it is. Maybe the flat finishes have an effect in my brain that makes me think low quality something. I don't know. But not so. The sustainable wood series was great. I popped a capo on the second fret and played Wonderwall for 20 minutes, and no one made me feel out of place, which I appreciated.
Me Oasis.
No, me too. That's what I want to see is Oasis themed guitars. I want to see a Union Jack.
Okay, we need to talk a lot more. You just struck a nerve with me, man.
We got to get on this. Supersonic all day long. I think Supersonic was the one thing I played at every single booth that I went to, because I notoriously can never think of what to play at booths or guitar shops or in general. I'm really bad at that. But yeah, Gibson blew my mind. Absolutely. 100%. I am going to sell a bunch of stuff this year to buy a Trini Lopez reissue. I don't want the vintage one anymore.
They brought back
the one they had in that booth was that good.
Wow, I didn't realize they brought that back. That's interesting.
Yep, they brought it back, and they've had a reissue available for a while now, but it was never exact. Like, it had an extremely large 50s neck,
right?
No binding on the F holes, the wrong ear shape, all these things that like a geek like me would care about, but a regular consumer would just go, "Oh, cool guitar,"
right?
But stuff that I was really passionate about, and which is why I was focusing on getting a 66 or 67. But now I don't see the point. It's the first time I've ever said that.
I think you'll like the neck on the new one anyway.
Oh yeah, I mean I played that one. That's why I spent so much time up in the Gibson booth, was I was playing that one so much. That super tiny 60s neck.
My dad took an original tour in the Kalamazoo factory back in the 70s, and I'm kind of glad I haven't gone to Nashville to do the tour yet, but now I'm really looking forward to it because of the changes that I see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Indeed.
Also, I heard stories about the CEO, the new guy. I don't remember his name, but he's from Levi's, the denim company. And he was going around the booth telling people that he liked their jacket, or, "Hey, nice pants." And that's endearing to me.
Does he actually kind of look like Nicolas Cage? I've heard rumors of that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but he looked like Nicolas Cage in Face Off.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Oh, zing.
Yes. Well, all right. That sounds fantastic, man. I'm glad that you had a good time, and awfully glad that we got to connect and have a great conversation. Totally impromptu, random surprise thing.
Well, what about you, buddy?
Oh man,
with NAMM.
Okay, so just right off the bat, like, me and Tony and Jared just had such a fantastic time hanging out, and I thoroughly appreciate their camaraderie and friendship and support. That goes without saying. For me, the two big things that I really got out of it, number one was getting to meet up with guests that I've had on the show. There were so many that we've done this past year, that I haven't met in person and was able to hear, and it was never weird. It was like seeing an old friend. So got to meet up with John Schneider, who my
man, he always had a beer on him, didn't he?
Yeah, and we had loads of great conversations, and got to meet up with Rhett Scholl, who was recently on, who's got a fantastic YouTube channel. If you haven't seen that, check out his YouTube channel, and for sure listen to the episode. Got to meet up with one of my total favorites, Robert Keeley. Guys,
he gave us a hug,
he's a
man.
Prince of a guy. Yeah,
he gave
big
us
giant hugs. And he's obviously been on the show in the past, and he's kind of a giant in the pedal world. And every single person that we ran into was like, "Did you meet Robert?" And like, "Yeah, we." And nobody had a single bad thing to say about that guy, which I don't know why they would anyways, but that was just nice. I also got to spend some time with Philippe Pampuri, owner of Beatronics, who, again, walking around the corner, spots us and just comes up and gives a big, giant bear hug. It was fantastic.
Big bee hugs.
A big bee hug, yeah. So we got to talk for a really much longer than I anticipated. And he showed us his new pedal, the Swarm, which is ridiculous. It is so good. And I tried to offer him money 3 times for one of those, but he couldn't because they're not in production yet. But my goodness, I really enjoyed that pedal. And his whole booth was just outstanding. Really incredible.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
I thought that display was incredible. Where he like took his iMac and laid it down and built a box around it so that you could manipulate what's happening on the screen just by turning the knob of the pedal. Yeah. Blew my mind.
It was totally unexpected. You know, most of the pedal setups, if you go to them, they got headphones and you plug in your guitar and you can kind of twiddle around on the pedals and sometimes they actually have dual headphones, so the pedal maker can listen to what you're playing, which is also like, I was planning on just playing really crappy and having just me listen to it. And they're like, okay, cool, let's see what you do with this. I'm like, we're all self-conscious.
Yeah.
So that's usually a pretty great experience. But yeah, he set up this pedestal that had a screen and a knob, a big giant knob. On the screen was painted like honey was like a big blob of honey had dripped on the screen. And on top of that honey blob was his new Swarm pedal. So he gives us the headphones and he's like, all right. And he hits play and that big knob turns up the volume. And then we watch a video of his, of this song that he created in multiple parts using this pedal. First of all, the presentation is amazing. Second of all, the video is outstanding. Incredible video. The song is fantastic.
So
and then
trippy.
He's got his headphones on and he starts twiddling the dials on the pedal, which is changing the music in the video. It's ridiculous. It's sick.
Yeah,
it's so good. And
genius.
The cool thing about that is when you're just playing and you're twiddling the knobs and stuff, you can get an idea of what that sounds like. But when you can hear a pedal in the context of a song with like drums and bass and other guitars, that's a whole other experience altogether. I mean, he's really set the bar and is an absolute prince of a fella, and he's a new daddy too. So thanks so much, Philippe, for spending so much time with us. We really appreciate you.
Absolutely.
Did you know that he made that days before the show?
Yes. Isn't that nuts?
That is.
That's got,
Some people
like,
just
mad
have like an
scientists.
extra measure of
While he was
genius,
having
and
a
it makes
kid.
me so mad.
Crazy. Yeah.
He's a pretty innovative dude.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Also
One of my
got-
favorite companies ever.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I also got to catch up with Rick Matthews of Matthews Effects and listen to his Whaler fuzz, which is a knockout. Absolute knockout. One of the problems that I have, I love fuzz. I love fuzz playing at home. When I get the fuzz into a band scenario, I play mostly rhythm stuff, so it just kind of turns into mush, which is the greatest complaint of fuzz pedals. His Whaler had like, it was almost like there was a clean signal running through it, and I don't understand the dynamics, and I didn't make him explain everything, partially because he was stationed right across from the Soldano booth, which was basically like just pinch harmonics and gallops, for days. And he was already growing tired of it. But I just really enjoyed playing that pedal. I hope to maybe get my hands on that at some point. And let's see what else. Oh, some big ones. Got to meet Rick Nielsen.
Wow.
Incredible. I'm talking
cool.
to Rhett Shull, and I see Rhett's eyes get all bulgy. And I turn, and Rick Nielsen's walking by, and we'd give a, hey, how you doing, blah, 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 blah. And it's not like I sat down and had a cup of coffee with him, but I got to meet him totally by surprise. He's a guitar hero.
You said something to him. He said something to you.
That counts.
That's a conversation.
That counts.
That is.
That's going in my book, baby.
That's official,
That's
brother.
official.
You're practically best friends at this point.
Practically.
Exactly.
And then completely by happenstance, I was turning a corner and I see this guy and I'm like, no way, that can't be. And it was Mike Matthews of Electro Harmonics, sitting all by himself, about to pick up a hamburger and put it in his face. And I said, wait. I said, before you shove that in your mouth, I just need to interrupt you. And he looked at me and he put the burger down and he listened to me and I just, I said, thank you so much for inspiring, giving inspiration to so many builders out here today. And, and he was kind enough to take a picture with me and everything. And that was a really neat highlight. I mean, doesn't get much bigger than that in the pedal world. So those things happened. And then again, totally, I don't even know how this happened, but we were at the intersection of all this pedal stuff going on. And before I knew it, we had, it was the Guitar Knobs, Tone Mob, 60 Cycle Hum, the Flippin' Flippers, and Clifton Worley all sitting in a row. I was like, this is crazy. And it was really neat. So got to meet some new friends, guys from Flippin' Flippers, and Blake. Blake from Tono. I got to spend quite a bit of time talking to them, especially. And that was just a nice surprise because we're all out here sharing the airwaves, so to speak, talking about guitar stuff, and it was a great camaraderie. It was kind of like a camaraderie in the midst of camaraderies because we're not the builders. Now the guys that are set up with the booths, they have their inside circle conversations. Us as podcasters, we're kind of involved, but not as much as they are. So it was nice to have an inner circle within the circle. So, and I'd love to get some of them on to talk to them on the show as well. So I think we're trying to work some of that stuff out.
A podcast exchange program. It sounds like.
Somewhat.
Why not?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe the final big one, not the final big one, second to final big one. We have great supporters on this show. I had the pleasure and honor to meet Corey Nigro in person. We so much appreciate his support and everyone else's. And it was a treat to see him in person.
It is.
And so we had a nice chat. And then Oliver Gonzalez coming all the way from an island off of Africa, a Spanish island off of Africa.
Yep.
Crazy.
That's cool.
He gave me a Supro pickup to fix. And if you're listening, buddy, it's done if you don't have it by now.
Yeah.
So
check that out. Service.
Yep.
Now, coming out of that, I was thoroughly exhausted. I had met all kinds of people. I could name every single person that we met and all that business, but a lot of the people that I haven't mentioned are going to be coming on the show at some point in time in the near future. And that will be very, very exciting. And I will reference that when that happens. But my flight got delayed and I was very worried about getting back. Ooh. I'm sitting in the airport and I see a very familiar shirt. One of my favorite shirts, the Electronic Audio Experiment shirts. John Schneider, right, is walking down and I said, hey, John. And he swings over and, we just start talking. He's like, hey, come over, walk over to get a coffee with me real quick. I'm meeting and I couldn't understand what he was saying. We go over to the coffee area. Who turns around with coffees? But Philippe Herndon from Caroline Guitar Company comes up and he starts talking with us. And I'm like, wow, I got John Schneider and Philippe from Caroline.
It's NAMM after NAMM.
Okay. Wow, this is pretty. Yeah. I mean, those are pretty heavyweight dudes in the pedal industry. And then up comes walking Joel Court from Chase Bliss. And I was like, somebody's got to pinch me here.
Yeah.
I found myself in the midst of some really, really innovative, inspirational people.
It's a NAMM hangover.
It was fantastic. It was such a nice little surprise for little old me.
Awesome.
Just in the middle of an airport.
Middle of an airport.
There you go.
I would have been smiling at me outside my body if I saw me standing there having that conversation. just because I appreciate what they're doing in the guitar community. They're forward thinkers, and that's great. Okay, that's a lot of NAMI stuff, everybody. We got Mike on the line here.
Sure
and he's
do.
going to drop one of my favorite things in the whole wide world.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 4 on the floor.
Okay, Mike, a.k.a. Puisheen.
It's got such a sparkle when you say it. I love it. Thank you.
Give us your 4 on the floor, buddy.
First of all, I have to start with the Fuzz Factory from Zvex. That pedal was the pedal that got me into pedals. I remember seeing it on their old website. They had these demos. I think they still have the same demos. Little clips, little videos in 2006 with my crappy internet. But I got it to work and heard this like explosive, chaotic rainbow of sounds. So I got mine about 2 years later because it took me a while to save up. But I bought it from an online retailer whose name completely escapes me, and waited patiently for my box to arrive in the mail. Got it. I think it was a blemish. So it had one little tiny chip in the paint on the underside. I think I paid like $2.79 for it. And when it finally came, it was like Christmas Day all over again. Immediately plugged it in and made just the most cacophonous noises, like manipulating the stab knob. So it just constantly oscillated and went like that. But over the ensuing few years, I learned how to really like tame that pedal and get like these weird big sounds out of it.
That word tame is something that tends to go hand in hand with that pedal. It's basically like, if you get this pedal, you have to learn how to tame it.
Exactly. And I love that part of the design, honestly. So something that I tend to look for in pedals these days is personality. I like pedals that do a thing. I've had enough of transparent boost overdrives. I've had enough of like copying like the best 1960s tones. I want something that is just going to blow my mind and be horrible and weird, and most people will hate it. So yeah, the taming the Fuzz Factory is definitely part of the design. But you figure out what to do with the gate knob. You figure out what to do with the stab, and it becomes like second nature. I have never felt like the Fuzz Factory was overly bright or thin sounding the way that I hear other people talk about it. And I don't know, maybe I just found something that works, but I love that pedal. Can't live without it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Are there a lot of different graphics you can get on this, or is there just a few, or what's up with all the
visually
cool graphics?
Yeah, you can get whatever you. Well, I don't know if they do.
Well, originally they were hand painted.
Yeah, and mine is hand painted by. Okay. It's not my rolled. I can't. Maybe it is my rolled. But mine is one of the green hand painted ones, and I love that thing so much. But you can get sparkly ones. You can get ones with a screaming chimpanzee on it. There was this one Fuzz Factory that I wanted that was pink sparkle with kanji all over it, and I wanted that thing so bad, but I did not have the 400 to drop on a nice one. So
along those lines, if you haven't already, you really should check out Champion Lecky if you like insane noise and hand painted things.
Oh yeah.
I've never heard that. What is that?
Champion Lecky. He's on a previous podcast, actually, one of our highest rated. I don't know why, because he's a super funny guy. But yeah, he's doing hand done pedals, hand painted pedals, and he's just got a crazy sense of humor and makes some serious noise with those pedals. So check those out.
Does it make like that pedal boost that I like really well?
Yeah. Boost is
that's
great.
A great pedal.
Great pedal.
It's Champion Lecky?
Leccy, Leccy.
Lecky is a kind of a slangish word for electricity.
Northern England.
Oh, I love that.
And if you're really good at something, you're champion. So he's Champion Lecky.
That's genius.
Yeah.
I'll check that out right away. Well, not right away.
Super good guy. Super good guy. All right. What's next?
So next up on my 4 on the floor is almost always going to be the small sound, big sound, and I'll spell it out for sensitive listeners, FX. Not going to say what that word is. Not going to
maybe it's an
reference it again.
acronym.
Could be.
Could be. I've never bothered to ask. So the small sound, big sound pedal is built out of a pure and unabiding hatred of overdrive. Brian Hamilton of Small Sound, Big Sound Effect found that overdrive pedals just didn't work for him and sounded bad to his ear. And so he, whether intentionally or not, set about creating one of his own. And it is my favorite overdrive pedal I have ever used in my life. It blew away the Klon KTR that I used to have. It supplanted the space reserved on my board for my first overdrive pedal, which was a full tone OCD. The small sound, big sound pedal goes from like clean boost if you want it, but it still has its own wonderful little character to it. And then as you crank up the dial, it goes into like a good raucous overdrive all the way into fuzz. It goes into overblown territory. There's even a switch on the pedal that emulates a blown tube. And so if you want your sound to just completely implode, it does that, and it does it beautifully. That pedal I purchased directly from Brian with a requested special graphic on the top. Now, you heard me spell the word that the pedal is called.
Yes.
My pedal is the F -- pedal. And the reason is because I really wanted it to have Ralphie from A Christmas Story on the front of it. So there's that scene in the movie where he says, "I said it, the dreaded F -- pedal." So I custom ordered it with sparkly knobs.
Awesome.
And Ralphie with Lifebuoy soap in his mouth
wow.
as the graphic. And it's still, I've had it since I think 2011, and it has never left my board. It's always there.
Will you send me a picture of that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great. Because I'll actually need it for the Four on the Floor blog.
Oh, heck yeah. I'll put that up there.
Killer. Okay. What's next?
So what's next? There's so many pedals I want to say right now. I'm going to have to go for the Digitech Whammy 5, I think.
Really?
I have curiously been getting a lot of use out of that in the band that I'm in called Fellow Robot. The band started out as a soundtrack to a book that the singer is writing, and it spans 120 years of a robot's life through his creation, through the death of his creator, all these things. And as such, the music goes between a number of different genres. There's like folksy stuff, and then there's metal, and then there's weird cacophonous punk rock stuff. So the Whammy has been really helping me nail some very specific sounds. Like, I don't own a baritone guitar. I hope to rectify that soon. But the Whammy Fourth Down has enabled me live and in the studio to absolutely nail tic-tac bass sounds from spaghetti westerns. That and a Jazzmaster is pure heaven for me. And with a lap steel, using the fourth and fifth setting to kind of go between some very ominous kind of like contemplative sounds, I love that pedal. And I especially love the Whammy 5 for offering tracking options where you can get the original kind of glitchy sound, or you can back that off into polyphonic mode. It's never failed me. It's a delight to use. And I will say that the dive bomb setting gets a lot of use. There's one song that I'm using a 12 string on, and at the very end of the song, I turn on 2 fuzz pedals and a boost so that my amp becomes impossibly loud. And then I go straight into the dive bomb setting. So it's this thunder that just lays over the end of the song. I don't know.
Your
I feel like
can take that, right?
My speakers can. Mine can. I buy those 100-watt crazy overblown Celestians, and they seem to do fine. But I'm also using like a 412, so
nice.
I'm one of those weirdos.
Oh.
But yeah, the Whammy 5, I got that on Craigslist from a guy who promised that he would hang out with me because I was new to LA. And you know what? I never saw him again. So I don't need you and I don't want you.
That is a weird promise.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a weird thing to say to somebody over at your house for Craigslist, but I don't know. For some reason, I took him at his word. I was like, okay, all right. Oh, I can't wait to hang out with you, sir. Never happened. But he gave it to me for like, I think $80 I paid for it. Yeah, it was in good shape. Still had the box. So whatever. Can't complain.
Yeah. Cool, man. Last one, number 4.
Oh, this is going to be super obvious to all of your listeners, I think, but I've got to give a shout to the Strymon Blue Sky. I have 2 Strymon pedals on my board at all times. One's the Flint, one is the Blue Sky. And that's because I find that I really respond to different types of reverb. It's a kind of a tone tool for me. Getting a nice spring out of the Blue Sky is essential for the with the song that I mentioned where I'm doing tic tac bass lines. I want that spaghetti western kind of pad underneath it. So the Blue Sky nails that. The real reason that I bought it, I think direct from Strymon again, paid full price, was the only pedal at the time that I could find that did that cavernous Sigaros reverb thing. Yeah. I've got a Les Paul studio that's set up just for bow so that I can nail that sound when I want to. Wow. I'm a big fan of that band.
Yeah.
And I needed something that did the moaning low reverb thing. And that thing does it in spades. It's a saved setting for me. So I go between Spring and I go between Sigaros, and that pedal is amazing. I can't get enough of it. And it's different enough from the Flint that I don't feel like I'm redundant at all in having both on the board. So yeah, those are my 4.
Well. That is a solid board, my friend.
Solid.
So speaking of solid, your Instagram game is solid. Has been solid for quite some time, and that's where I found you.
Thanks for saying so. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Well, a lot of people seem to like what you're doing. So
we call that the prestige.
Yes.
We trick you into thinking that there's a plan.
So, we kind of talked about this at the very beginning, but I'd like to kind of, just dip in a little bit to, I know things have changed for you since kind of like as soon as you hit the apex of Puisheen, you things have changed a little bit, as you were telling me. However, I would like to know from your perspective, as somebody who, basically just blew up on the old internet, the Instagram, your thing with Offset and how that all came about, and how you got so much attention for being like, if you have an Offset guitar, you got to go to this guy. And if anybody knows Offset guitars, it's got to be this guy, because that's all he talks about is Offset guitars. How did that all come about?
So I would say the real beginning of all of that is my birth. I was born at a young age in York, Pennsylvania. I was raised by my family to be a good little boy. But throughout my childhood, I had a number of learning problems that were never really diagnosed. And one of them was obsessive compulsive disorder, where I would focus on something and I'm a big Star Trek fan, and so it wasn't just enough to watch The Next Generation on TV. I had to have the technical manual, and I had to memorize the blueprints for the Enterprise D.
Wow!
And so that stuff didn't get diagnosed until much later in my life, and then it kind of clicked for me. When the phrase was said to me, I went, "Oh, that explains a lot." Really, it has to do with kind of an innate ability or a need for me to learn everything I possibly can about the things that interest me. So that coupled with playing guitar is a very interesting mix. I mentioned earlier that I grew up on Gibson guitars, and so I went through the catalog and learned everything that there was to know about the studio, the standard, the custom, the Black Beauty, the 3 pickup models, who created the humbucker pickup and why, all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. So when I came to the Jazzmaster in 2010, I was kind of in a weird place musically where I had played Gibson so long, and I had played certain styles of music for so long that I was kind of wondering what else was out there, and how did I expand not only my skills as a player, but the basic sound that I had. And my good friend Mike Ball, who is the other Mike from the Guitar Bar, this is before we created the shop, but he had this 2007 Fender Thin Skin in Sonic Blue. And for some reason, I really wanted a blue guitar. I never really liked blue guitars, but I don't know, I had my heart set on Sonic or Daphne, and this one was Sonic. And he said he would trade it and some money for my 69 SG that I had. And I said, okay, let's do this.
I would have done the same thing.
Yeah. I was a big Nels Cline fan, and I was like, all right, let's see what he's on. And within, I would say the space of a month, I had torn apart the guitar bit by bit to understand everything about it. And I do this as a luthier too. Like when I was really repairing guitars and that was my lifestyle, if I had a question about something, I would just buy it and tear it apart. That's always kind of the way I function. So I did that with the Jazzmaster that is sitting right beside me right now. I still have it. It's called R2. It's one of the best new Jazzmasters I've ever played. It really, really started the whole thing for me. So I tore it apart, learned everything I could, consulted Leo Fender's original design documents, the patent applications. I actually have the patent application tattooed on my left arm.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I did a deep dive in understanding not only like what the intention was behind the guitar, but the complaints as well, because I was hearing from people who were saying, oh, you need to have a buzz stop, or you need to Loctite all your screws. You need to change the bridge because they're horrible to play. And I thought, oh, that's weird. We call Leo Fender a genius, but this one guitar, we were like, oh, he got it wrong. And it didn't seem possible that Leo Fender would let something truly flawed out of the factory. And so the more I dug in, the more I realized that the original intent of the guitar was really the jazz and Jazzmaster. He was aiming directly at archtop players, and his aim was to make a solid body with the string geometry of an archtop. So when you look at an archtop from the side, the strings go from the tailpiece over a floating bridge and then down at a steep angle on a neck that's kind of coming off the body, pitched back.
Yeah, it almost looks more like a violin or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is, when you look at a properly set up Jazzmaster, it's doing the same thing. And all of a sudden I went, oh my gosh, this is the whole thing. And so, yeah, tearing through old design documents and finding all of this material that was it seemed pretty obvious from the drawings on the patent. It seemed obvious from, everything, all of the promotional material that came with the guitar, that was the intention. In fact, some of it is explained in the owner's manual, but nobody reads those.
I mean, it was called Jazzmaster.
That was kind of their flagship model at the time too, wasn't it?
Exactly. They really thought it was going to revolutionize the game, especially with the two-tone circuits. But no, the real problem with the Jazzmaster, I've always said, is a lack of education. Like the messaging was so off. The features were praised and they were print bold on every brochure, but there was never like an emphasis put on maintenance, really. And so when people started putting 9-gauge strings on the guitars, or people took the guitar apart to strip it brown like they did in the 70s, they would see those little card shims, the little fiberboard, and they'd toss them because why would you need those? And so the Jazzmaster just totally fell out of favor. Same with the Jaguar. Although I would argue that they both found an audience in surf players and the avant-garde later on in the 70s. But I don't know. I've always had a thing for underdogs. I've always really related to them, probably because I grew up a Star Trek fan and a nerd with red hair. And I was mercilessly bullied for my entire school career. So I see a guitar that's, getting mistreated on the internet, and I say, hey, I got you. Here. Let's do this together. So that's a long-winded explanation for why anybody might know who I am, is because I oh my gosh, I expended every of my limited resources on understanding these guitars. And I have been so fortunate to work for a bunch of my heroes or people that I think are really amazing cutting edge musicians. So as a result of, I don't know, being the guy willing to do the legwork, here I am.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's it's really weird how people fall into things, you know. Famously, you basically had Rivers Cuomo. Talk about that guitar for a little bit.
Oh, so that's the other thing. In 1994, when the Blue album came out, up to that point, I was listening
from
to
Weezer. Just to clarify, anybody who doesn't know that, he's
so I was mainly listening to punk rock, which is great. I still love punk. Man, that's why I have a really hard right hand strumming pattern as my punk rock leanings. But when I heard the Blue album, they were these wonderful little pop gem songs that were just heavy as heck. I don't think even since the album came out that I've heard guitar tones that were so massive sounding. Like The World Has Turned still to this day.
Man, yeah.
To me, just when I turn it on, I can feel that rumble in my chest. Like, what an amazing song.
Well, and they're not accompanied by like the rest of the music doesn't sound like that. And that's kind of the success of that.
It's an amazing marriage of gigantic sounding guitars and acoustic and synth. Matt Sharp's synth work on a lot of the B-sides are the most thrilling moments for me of the entire Weezer catalog. But so I was a huge Weezer fan. For whatever reason, I won't get into it, but you know, a lot of Weezer fans kind of fixate on those first two records, and that's a lot of what people seem to want. A lot of Weezer fans are like, I don't listen to anything past Green, or I only like Blue Album or Pinkerton, and they're not the same band. And whether or not that's true, I honestly don't feel like getting into, because that's a whole thing. But for me, those first two records and the B-sides that come from the ill-fated songs from the Black Hole album that never came out, those are my favorite songs I think I've ever heard in my life. So when I met Mike Ball, who's the other Mike from the Guitar Shop, we bonded immediately over a mutual love of Weezer and power pop. And at some point, I would say in 2013, we had the Guitar Shop for about a year. Shop's doing really well. All of a sudden, we have the money to buy really great gear. And the more we listened to Weezer, the more we realized that Seattle was chock full of Weezer tribute acts. And so we went to see some of them, and some of them were really good and some of them weren't. But the one thing we walked away with was the notion that none of them were actually nailing the tones, which was the most important part to us as guitar players. And so we kind of looked at each other one Wednesday night having a beer after the shop closed, and we went, I wonder if we could do this. And so we, again, did deep dives on Weezerpedia, the Weezer gear page, essentially. Poured all over the records, poured over, weird, obscure concert shots from somebody's, a disposable camera in 1996, and tried to figure out what was really going on. And so over the next year, we replicated their entire touring rig from between 94 and 98. It's ridiculous. We not just like doing pitch perfect recreations of the guitars, but also the amp rigs. Like Mike tracked down a Mad Amp bass head. The GT200, I think, is the model on that. And that was thrilling. He bought himself a 1970s Ampeg 810. And then I had a Marshall 1990 style 810 cab with 4 12-inch speakers built for me, because I figured that was also part of it. And turns out, having big, stupidly oversized cabinets is really fun and sounds just like what you'd expect.
Right.
Those Ampeg cabs are monsters.
And then that's to say nothing of the guitars. Like I ordered just like Rivers did, I ordered a neck and a body from Warmouth. and then Seymour Duncan Trembucker in the bridge, DiMarzio Super 2 in the neck. I even figured out how to make my own version of the Black Ice, the onboard guitar distortion module that lives on your tone pot, because he had one of those in there.
Wow.
And I even very obsessively looked at the Say It Ain't So video and then the performance of Say It Ain't So on David Letterman in, I think, 95 to get the electrical tape design on his guitar right. We did the same thing to Matt Sharp. We bought a Geddy Lee jazz bass body, and I stripped just the arm wear area because Matt Sharp's bass has this very distinct sort of white around the outside of it. So I recreated that from photographs. We had a friend print up the 96 sticker that lives on his pick guard. We got monster tone pickups, got a telly bass neck for it from Warmouth. And yeah, we went overboard.
Wow.
And I will say, for all of that work, the first practice we all brought our gear and we plugged in and we played chords, and it sounded like we were inside the record. It was an
That's
amazing
cool.
experience. So yeah, that was a big deal, and such a big deal that we sort of became friends with some people in the Weezer camp. Like Matt Sharp taunted me for a good, I think, 4 months on Instagram, pointing out things that I missed about his bass. For instance, on the back, there are these 4 holes that run through the body, and that's from when he had 2 Jerry Jones lipstick pickups in the bass. It was his earliest version of that bass, and he's like, "You forgot the holes."
TV
and so
Jones?
I said, "Okay." What's that?
TV Jones?
Jerry Jones, the the upmarket Dan Electro style guitars from the 90s. Best example I can think of them is Nels Cline has this Dan Electro double neck. One neck is a baritone and one neck is a 12 string, and that's
weird.
a Jerry Jones.
Right on. Never heard of Jerry Jones. That's cool.
Oh, if you ever want a Dan Electro style guitar like that, I always recommend them. They're going up in price now because he's stopped making them, but they're incredible instruments.
Okay, cool.
Totally worth your time. But yeah, Matt Sharp had 2 lipsticks in his bass mounted from the back, just like lipsticks are on those guitars. And so I got a drill out and drilled holes. Because if Matt says that I missed something, then I'm going to fix that.
That's fun.
And when he came through Seattle with the rentals a short time after we started playing shows, and he invited us to come, and he spent an hour and a half with us after the show comparing our bass to his that he still uses, and pointing out things like, "Holy crap, you got this right. Oh my gosh, I can't believe you saw that." His bass had a repair since the Blue album, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't remember that this happened, but now I do because I see the original beside it." In fact, when he played with the rentals, he played the bass that I built instead of his, and he held them both up for the audience to see and talked about how creepy we were and how he thought that we were sleeping in his front lawn because there's no way that somebody would get all these details right just from photos. And it was honestly, that's one of the best things that's ever happened to me. Because
that's
of the
awesome.
guitar. I'm so thankful for that.
Fantastic, man. That's a great story. I love those little weird connections that you get to have.
Wild.
Now you mentioned the Mike and Mike's guitar bar. And I know that you're no longer associated with that, right?
That is correct. I moved to California in 2015, and pretty quickly it became clear that it didn't make sense for me to hold on to part of the company when I can't be there.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, one of the neat things about that is, we reference all the time on the show Jared likes to say, the old mom and pop shops, like he was born in the 50s or something. But
is that how someone from the 50s?
Yeah, I guess so.
The old mom and pop
Well, that's
shop.
how Jared always talks, actually. So.
Well, look at what the cat done, druggy.
Yeah, exactly. You sure you want to get that thing there tuned up?
Was this the 1850s that we're
It might have been. I'm not sure. Yeah, it's right next to the livery.
The blacksmith shop.
Yeah. But the point being there is that, there's some of the bigger box stuff or just the giant stores that kind of squashed all the little stores for a long time. Mm-hmm. And it seemed to me that, at least from my guitar world view at the time when I started kind of catching on to what you were doing, we were discussing that, and it feels like it's so ripe right now for like these little shops to actually happen. And lo and behold, that I saw that through your Instagram and with the Mike and Mike Guitar Bar, and that was one of the first like real instances of something that felt like that there was a rebirth of the little shop, right? Mm-hmm. But it wasn't the little shop in the sense that the old way was, which was the little shop basically just had a lot of music stuff. There weren't little guitar shops as much as there were little music shops, right?
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah, exactly. That's the way it was in my hometown. There wasn't a proper guitar store usually. It was like a mom and pop sort of band instrument shop that also sort of had guitars.
Yeah.
Generally the way it worked.
So with the huge boom in boutique builders and pedals and, boutique amps and everything, it seemed right for that to happen. And then,
Yeah, we ran a guitar shop, like vintage instruments, high dollar stuff, out of Mike's garage for 3.5 years.
Uh-huh. That's crazy.
Which is ridiculous. And we couldn't have done that had the internet not been a thing. Really, the only reason we have success is because we were really able to have a voice thanks to the internet, thanks to having our own website, thanks to reverb.com and eBay and those kind of things. It's frustrating. Yeah, and Instagram, huge part of it. In fact, the only reason that I'm on Instagram was because the shop needed an Instagram. I already had one, so I just said, I'll post what I'm working on every day. And
weird.
It's weird that happens. For a while, I was the only contact the shop had to Instagram, and then eventually I convinced everybody. I was like, hey, I don't want to sell on my page. Can we make a shop Instagram? And weirdly, it took some convincing, but eventually I said, I'm not posting anything until we do this.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I want to post pictures of my dog, and I feel like I can't do that right now.
Do you could just walk into a garage and buy a 58 Gold Guard Jazzmaster?
You absolutely could. That's so cool. Hanging on the wall above the mid-century modern couch.
It's kind of like a destination shop, really. I mean,
right.
Like Chicago music was like, you got to go there.
We were the antithesis to that place. I love Chicago Music Exchange. I hope I could go someday. But we had, by the time I left, we had, I think, 85 instruments crammed in 600 square feet.
Wow. That's insane.
Unbelievable.
Really
when you
cool.
walk in there, like, you ever walk into a guitar shop and you're afraid you're going to tip something over? That was every day for me. That was my life.
Especially if you're selling high dollar stuff like that too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, luckily it always worked out. We never had an accident. Even there was one time that a gigantic dog, like a Saint Bernard, came in, and we were all very worried, but he was the most gentle Saint Bernard in the world and didn't tip anything over.
Well, that's still going, right? That's that shop, right?
The shop is still going, but thankfully it is no longer in a basement. It is actually a real shop now. Shortly before I left, the shop got into talks with a local realtor for a space down in the Fremont neighborhood of Seattle. Mm-hmm. And so we've got this amazing space that's been built out. Mike and Ben and our buddy Jake, who you know as Verbageddon on Instagram, all of them worked so hard to build this office space into something that honestly is truly beautiful. I cannot believe that I helped make that happen. It's this wonderful space with beautiful light fixtures. The wallpaper on the walls is actually made from old player piano rolls.
Wow.
Yeah, it's an amazing space. And the gear is still so good. The stuff that they get, like, I'm so jealous I don't get to touch it anymore, living states away. So yeah, amazing shop. I'm so proud of what we were able to build together. So
really cool. Shop.
Yeah.
Last thing that we'll hit on right now is I got to know Pancake.
Pancake.
Yeah.
The guitar that's more famous than I'll ever be.
Where'd you get it? What's up with the name Pancake?
So the story of how it got its name actually comes from designer Paul Frank, who I think familiar. A lot of guitar people follow these days.
Well, the original Paul Frank with the monkey face, it was actually I met him a long time ago. He lived down by where I grew up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the guy. He's the best. Julius is a world famous monkey who lives on lunchboxes and T-shirts and every sort of thing. Pajamas are big for Julius, and Paul is the guy who created him in the 90s. Paul, turns out, is one of the nicest, most humble people I have ever met. It's crazy. It's just crazy to think that I've met him. But he found me on Instagram in 2015, I think right before we moved to California. And he said, "Oh, you're coming to California. I would like to make a strap for you."
What?
And so he sent me an email and said, "What's your favorite word? I'll put it on the strap." And thought for like a whole week, and I could not come up with my favorite word. But ever since a kid, the word pancake is something that I can say and not help but smile.
It's the best.
Weird kind of visceral reaction. I don't know. Pancake.
It's the best part of the weekend.
So I wrote it back
I'm
to
thinking
him.
about a buttery, rich, yummy syrup soaked pancake right now.
Isn't it so
Blueberries.
good? Isn't it just a comforting image to have in your head? It's wonderful.
Love pancakes.
So it's all based on that.
It's all based on that. I sent him an email and said, I don't know, pancake. And then like 2 weeks later, a strap showed up in the mail. And I was like,
so
okay,
cool.
I guess that's what this is. At the time that I got it, I was back in Seattle shortly doing a run of Godspell in a theater called Taproot. I was one of the onstage musicians. And that strap came in, I put it on the guitar. And then there was a girl who was one of our stage managers, and she was responsible for bringing the guitar to me at certain points of the night. And she just started going like, "Hey, here's pancake. Here's pancake." And I went, "That's not what."
That's great.
No, that is what it's called. Thank you. That's what that guitar is called now. So
that's fantastic.
Yeah, that guitar is something else.
Oh, outstanding. Well, man, I really appreciate you sharing your story with us. I know that there's way more to it. And you know what? We'll just have to have you back on and we'll talk about other things.
Anytime. And I promise I'll write a better song.
No, are you kidding me? That's the best. That's
fantastic.
It was awesome.
Yes. Now, Jared.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Would You Rather?
Oh, I've heard about this. I'm shaking in my boots.
That's correct. This week's Would You Rather is brought to us by one of our friends and listeners of the podcast, Corey MacArthur. And his Would You Rather is pretty cool. If you could only be one of these things, would you rather be the best soloist, or would you rather be the best rhythm guitar player of all time? It's either one or the other. What would you rather be?
Oh, it's super easy for me to answer. I would be the best rhythm guitarist of all time, hands down, no question. Malcolm Young. That's all I want to be.
Yeah, I can see that.
Absolutely.
For some reason, that the same thought, Malcolm Young, entered my brain.
Interesting.
I think he's the best ever, best that ever lived.
Yeah, and he played that. What was it, a Rickenbacker or something like that?
Gretsch.
Gretsch. That's right.
With the pickups all busted out. How about you, there, Lynn Bob Ironi over here?
I think I'd actually have to go with the solo just because I rarely ever play in a band sort of context. So when I'm playing, I'm usually just playing by myself and
noodling,
right? So I'm a noodler. So yeah, I'd have to go with the solo.
Interesting, Jared.
This is tough because I appreciate a very good both of these. When you're by yourself, you always need some sort of rhythm. Gosh, I don't know. I'm going to go rhythm. What the heck?
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Team rhythm.
This is indeed hard because that's all I can really play. I can't play a lead to save my life. I mean, I really can't. I just whatever.
No.
I can't I'm very bad with math, and I can't play lead guitar well at all. I can bust out a couple licks here and there.
Teach you.
I would appreciate it. That said, having spent all my life basically as a rhythm player, given the opportunity, I think I might actually like to try the other side of the tracks for a little bit. So I'm going to go with solo. I don't play any music that actually has solos, so I would want to at least see what that's like for a little while.
It's the art of noodling.
Yeah, but not not insane. The kind of like, okay, we get it. You know how to solo.
Dream Theater.
Let me show you another sweep. No.
I was making that exact noise with my mouth the entire time I was walking. Check out this cool pedal.
To be clear, I wouldn't be talking about that. But what I would go for is one of my all-time favorites. Billy Corgan can tear a hole in a roof with his lead program. But he's not like, he's the lead guitarist. Like, it's a different kind of thing. If I could make my fingers do that, oh, baby.
It makes it extra special when he does it.
In like a tasteful manner. It's not just showing off.
Yep. So give me some of that skills.
That's an interesting trait that seems to be shared by all of my favorite soloists, is that they can totally shred, but they don't often. Like Billy Corgan's leads are melodic and really incredible. Like just great tones and weird, moments where he's sliding up the neck or getting
crazy
weird
harmonics and
dynamics.
But
and
I don't know if I've ever thought of it as shredding before.
No.
But I know that he can.
No,
he absolutely can.
Yeah.
So,
I think that's what I'd have to do.
I have one more thought to add about my rhythm answer, and that is all I will say about it. Is that rhythm is what gets people moving.
For sure.
And that is super important to me. That's the connection with the audience. Solos are amazing, and they're great to wow people. And I don't know, if you can sing a solo, I think it's 100% guaranteed to be a great one. But I don't know. I'd rather just stand to the side of the stage, rock out, bob my head. Yeah,
I can dig that. I mean, that's what I've relegated myself to do. So
yeah, I mean,
and God bless you for doing it.
Yeah. There's nothing like just a great rhythm player.
Yes, sir. So really quick, we're going to thank a few people, and then we're going to get some outros going. This point in time, we don't have Tony with us, so this is going to be a lot faster. Well, we have a Patreon program, and you can go check us out at patreon.com/the Guitar Knobs, at which point you can choose to help support our show. We put a lot of work into it because we love it. We would do it whether we were getting a single dime or not. But every one of those single dimes goes to helping the show out, to literally keeping the lights on in the studio that we're paying for, and equipment and all kinds of that stuff. Your help is greatly appreciated, and we've got a couple entry points: $1, $5, $10, and you can go on from there. With each one of those, you get a nice little reward package, and obviously the rewards get better the more you're willing to support the show. We have some that we have deemed our executive producers at the $10 level. So, Jared, what happens with the executive producers?
Well, you get to have your name read on the thing.
All right, and that's what Zach's going to do right now.
All right, so the two new ones are Michael Senchuk and Michael McVeigh.
Hey,
all
welcome,
right,
guys.
welcome. Thank you guys so very much.
And so we have Tom Barazin, Martin Cliff, David Wolfson, Matt Brammer, Carlos Mancha, Pete Marshall, Robin Smith, John Dolly, Oliver Gonzalez, Sean S.
Big extra thanks to Sean S. For some great emails he sent this week.
Chris Kearney, John Anglin, Robert Marfleet, Darren Gregory, Doug Christ, Michael Van Zant, Brad Partridge, Doug Gahn, Corey Nigro, Ken Sayers, Jonathan Jerusik, Brian Robinson. Oh, that's it. Brian Robinson.
Yeah.
Hey.
All right. Thank you guys so very much for your help. Regardless what level you are supporting, it means so much to us. And we hope you go check it out. If you're not currently a patron, please give it a thought. As we're starting the new year, you're going to get a whole lot of new podcasts coming at you.
And there's a lot of good past information you can learn too.
Yes, sir. So let's see. Mike, where can people find you these days?
People can find me on Instagram at Puisheen. Puisheen. Sound of a cartoon sword. Don't forget that. You can also find my writing in the pages of Guitar Magazine, Premier Guitar once in a while, and mainly the Fretboard Journal. I've been doing a lot of writing, and that's been fun.
Right
so
on.
There, I guess.
Man.
Right on.
Please.
Zach, how about you?
You can find me on Facebook and YouTube at my name, Zach Oswald.
All right. J-Rod.
If anybody out there is looking for some new pickups or new pickups that look old to match your old relic guitar, visit me, Jared, at Brandon Wound Pickups. Throw me an email and BrandonWoundPickups.com. And I'm on Instagram and
All that business.
that's right.
And Tony Baloney, who's not with us, also his real name is Tony Dudzik. He is the pick guardian. And if you need a new pick guard done, man, oh man, this guy is the business.
He's the man.
He's the man. He's the
good.
man that a lot of these guitar companies that we're referencing go directly to, actually.
The biggies.
Yes, the big ones. All right. As for me, you can send a note my way via direct message on Instagram or shoot me an email, todd@theguitarknobs.com. And please, people, send us your would you rathers. We'll read them just like we did today.
Yep.
It'll be great. We'd love to hear yours. All right, everybody. It has been great. Mike, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. We love having a new friend of the podcast, and we look forward to meeting you again on these microphones sometime soon.
Thanks for having me.
It has been fun. For everybody else, have a great guitar week and subscribe.
Yeah.
All right, baby.
I like you.
Oh, you guys actually
Oh,
edit?
I edit this. Yeah, are you kidding me?
Oh my god! Give me one more. Don't remember the name again.
Here we go.
Who is this MacArthur character?
Lost my train of thought.
That never
Sounds.
happens to me.
Well, that's it for these knobs. Please visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/theguitarknobs. Visit our website at theguitarknobs.com for all of our past episodes, 4 on the Floor blog, and other good stuff. You can connect with us on social too at our Facebook page and share your gear and stories on our Facebook group. Also, be sure to check out our Instagram at Guitar Knobs. Catch you next time.